Ohio Players, the new album from the Black Keys. It's melodic, fun, and funky, and the guest collaborations on it might make it one of the Black Keys' best records. Let's break it all down on this edition of Rock Album Review. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the channel. Ohio Players is the Black Keys' 12th studio album. 12 albums already. It's the follow-up to 2022's Dropout Boogie. And you know what? I dig the Black Keys from as far back as the Brothers record. I wouldn't say I've been into them since the beginning, but since the Brothers record into El Camino and the big run of hits that they had throughout the 2010s, out of the duo rock groups, I think they're one of the best. And I kind of fell out of listening to the Black Keys after El Camino, I would say. I really love that record. That record had so many hits that were on the radio at the time. I was spinning lots of Black Keys when I was on FM radio. But you know what? Turn Blue wasn't a big record for me. Through to Let's Rock. I did a review of Delta Cream here on the channel a few years ago, and then Dropout Boogie came out in 2022. There have been some good moments, but I definitely haven't listened to a lot of Black Keys over the last couple of years. I think Wild Child from Dropout Boogie was one of the best Black Keys singles in a very long time, but otherwise, I've definitely fallen off the Black Keys train, and you know what? I feel ashamed. That being said, the Black Keys are immensely talented, and this new album, Ohio Players, is super fun and a really enjoyable record to listen to. As a rock fan, there is a lot to enjoy on Ohio Players. It's got catchy melodies for days. I found myself really humming along with a lot of these songs. It's got a lot of really fun, funky grooves on here as well. It's got a lot of really cool guitar parts, and it feels like the Black Keys are making some of the best material of their career so far. And there are a lot of collaborators and contributors on this Ohio Players record from Black Keys other than Dan Auerbach and Patrick Carney. And usually I kind of have a little bit of a mixed reaction towards albums that have so many different songwriters and collaborators on it. But I think for the most part, on Ohio Players, having those guest spots on it works really well. You know what? Call me biased, but getting Noel Gallagher to come in on this record to co-write and play on a couple of different tracks is definitely a stroke of genius. It's not a collaboration that I would expect, but it sounds awesome on this record. And the tracks that Noel Gallagher co-writes and plays on Ohio Players are among the best on the record, at least in my opinion. Like I'm saying, I might be biased, but we had the track On the Game. Noel Gallagher plays guitar on this track. He does backup vocals on this track as well as a few of the other tracks. And I found myself, you know, as an Oasis fan, as an Noel Gallagher fan, I found myself listening to this record and trying to pick out where Noel Gallagher was doing his thing on these songs. I think I can hear him on this track. I think the main riff, the main guitar on this track is courtesy of Noel Gallagher. May be completely wrong, but it definitely has a little bit of a George Harrison kind of feel. Then we get to a song called Only Love Matters, which is another Noel Gallagher co-written track on this record. It features a really fun beat with some woo-hoo-hoos on there. I can hear more of the Noel Gallagher influence on this one. At least I think I can hear it on this one. I really love the chorus on this track. And I was thinking that it would really be fun to be a fly on the wall when they were co-writing these songs with the writing sessions between, you know, Dan Auerbach, Patrick Carney, and Noel Gallagher. Like, how much did Noel Gallagher contribute to these songs? Is it more of a Noel Gallagher thing with the Black Keys kind of coming in and helping out with that? Or is it more of a Black Keys thing with Noel Gallagher offering assistance? There are flourishes of Noel Gallagher, but this is a Black Keys record after all. Another track that's with Noel on this record is You'll Pay, and I do think the songs co-written with Noel are among the best on this record. Like I said, I'm completely biased, but I really love the vocals on this song from Dan Auerbach. There's more woos happening on there, which I'm not sure if that's the Noel Gallagher influence, but the style of Noel Gallagher mixed with the Black Keys is really great, and they mesh well together. And then you have Beck, Mr. Beck Hansen, who is the other main contributor and collaborator on this record other than the Black Keys and the producer Dan the Automator. This Is Nowhere is one of the songs that they co-wrote with Beck, and you can hear his influence on these tracks, just like with Noel Gallagher. The band, they're blues and roots rock based, like the Black Keys have always been a blues based kind of band, but they've really branched out in the production on this record, Ohio Players. They've worked with a lot of different producers over the years, from Danger Mouse, now with Beck, and they've added that more modern sound to the blues style thing that they've done for so many years. And and it sounds great. The bass line of this song is great, and I think that Beck's influence also contributes to the strength of Ohio Players. One of my favorite tracks on this record was called Live Till I Die, which is another collaboration with Beck. I really love this track. It's going to be one of my favorite summer tracks of 2024 for sure. It kicks off with a great riff. There's no shortage of great riffs from the Black Keys on Ohio Players. Maybe the best riff of the record is on this song. It really, really rips. Definitely a highlight of the record for me. And both Dan Auerbach and Patrick Carney sound great on this record. Dan Auerbach has an awesome voice. He's doing so many cool things on this record with his voice. He can really fit his voice into any of the different styles that they're playing on this record. He has some really, really great vocal lines on here, some great falsetto stuff happening. Patrick Carney sounds great as well. He's not a flashy drummer, but he always gives the songs precisely the right feel that they need. Another track that I really liked was called Don't Let Me Go. Had some really fun percussion on this one. Like I was saying, Patrick Carney really doing some cool stuff on the drums. It breaks into a really, really cool poppy chorus, which I really liked. And then, you know, like I said, there's a lot of collaborators on this album. The only thing I would say with that is that sometimes you're wondering, like, why can't Patrick Carney and Dan Auerbach write all the great songs themselves? Why do they have to have so many collaborators? Even though I think it works really well, maybe there are a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Maybe there are too many people writing these songs, but I think overall it's to good effect. The cover of William Bell and Booker T. Jones' I Forgot to Be Your Lover is a highlight of Ohio Players. It's a highlight of this record, featuring an insanely good vocal from Dan Auerbach on this track. He sounds great, features some nice strings. And the Black Keys, even though they are doing new things, they're working with Noel Gallagher, they're working with Beck, they're working with some hip hop people on this record. They make sure that the blues is well represented on Ohio Players. It's a definite highlight. And lyrically, a lot of the songs, not just this one because it's a kind of a classic blues song, a lot of the songs on this record and most of the Black Keys record deal with love and relationships. But that's to be expected, man, when you're singing the blues. Nobody leaves this place without singing the blues. Beautiful People, Stay High is the catchiest and best Black Keys single that we've heard in a very long time. It's got a great chorus. It's got a great verse too. I love the horns. Got kind of that old school soul kind of feel. Has a breezy, carefree vibe to it. And I think that it's one of the best Black Keys songs that we've heard in a very long time. And despite being a rock and roll record that is based primarily around the blues and roots rock and more of those classic styles, there is quite a bit of an experimentation factor happening on Ohio Players. Candy and Her Friends is actually the only song on the record that was solely written by Dan and Patrick. It sounds more like that kind of old school, pure Black Keys kind of sound. I'm just wondering, who's Candy and who are her friends? It features a cool guest spot from Lil Noid. I can't say I'm very familiar with that name, but it's got a really cool hip hop vibe to it. The band is branching out. Same for his track called Paper Crown. Has a really cool bass line on it. And then you have Beck leading the vocals on this track, which is really, really cool. And he's really like an ideal collaborator for the Black Keys because he feels like, he has a lot in common with the Black Keys, with the style of music that they make. They really mesh really well together. And then this song actually breaks down into a really cool groove in the second half of the song where you hear more of that hip hop influence, and it's a nice way to break up the album and offer more dynamics. Unfortunately, it wasn't all good on Ohio Players. I know I've been praising this record for the last few minutes and praising all of these songs, but not every song on here was great. Unfortunately, there were a couple of filler tracks on here for me. I'm thinking, filler might be the wrong word, but it's just songs that didn't really jump out to me upon first listen, just kind of passed me by when I was listening to the record the first time. Please Me Till I'm Satisfied, Read 'Em and Weep, which it sounded appropriate for the title of the song. It sounded like the kind of song that you'd be listening to while you're playing cards. Fever Tree was cool. It sounded like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It sounded like they were playing some Frusciante, some vibes in there, some Frusciante riffs in there, mixed with Low by Cracker. If you know that song from the 90s, it felt a little bit like that towards the end. And there were a couple of moments where I just, it drifted a little bit for me. 14 songs on a record feels long in 2024 for some reason. I think that 10 or 11 tracks on a record really is the sweet spot. And 14, you get a little bit long in the tooth. Overall, for somebody like me who has fallen off the Black Keys train over the last couple of years, this was a really enjoyable record for me and really got me re-engaged with listening to the Black Keys, which is mission accomplished, I guess. Dan Auerbach and Patrick Carney sound great on this record as usual, but it's really the guests that they bring into here and the collaborators that they bring on this record that really make the difference, that really make them pop with the songwriting and the production on this record. So Beck, Noel Gallagher, Lil Noid, Juicy J, who appears on a bunch of songs on this record. The album has a dynamic and eclectic feel, and like I said, it gets a little bit long in tooth towards the end, but overall is a really engaging and fun and funky and rockin' listen. Not every track is a slam dunk. There are 14 songs on this record, but overall it's a very strong collection of songs. Makes me want to go back and maybe listen to more of those Black Keys records and songs that I missed over the last couple of years. So I'm going to give the new record from Black Keys, Ohio Player, a 4 out of 5. All right, guys, that is my review of the new album from the Black Keys, Ohio Players. Let me know what you thought of the record in the comments below. Make sure to like this video if you like this channel. Make sure to subscribe to the channel here. We just did a little rename here on the channel. So subscribe to me here on YouTube so you don't miss out on any future rock album reviews. Got a couple more coming this weekend, courtesy of Feeder and their new album Black Red, as well as the new Libertines album. Going to be reviewing those here on the channel this weekend. Follow me on social media across all social platforms, Instagram, TikTok, X, everywhere you find music and you find cool stuff, at Nick Chino Music. And I'll see you guys again for another rock album review here on the channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.